Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, my patrons, Clayton, Ruby, and Stephanie, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor or a student. Today, just two topics, and still in the aftermath of such a great celebration at my convention. Next year, in 2020, it's June 20th, not June 21st. So 2020, and at 3:43 Rocky Mountain Time, p.m. So number one, number one, MMP breathing, what it is and why. MMP breathing is out and in without restriction, without sound, without muscular contraction that makes a sound. This is just MMP breathing. That's what it is, though. MMP breathing is no lips, no throat, no muscular engagement that causes any kind of a constriction to a free and open airway to the lungs. So that's what MMP breathing is. And the reason it is what it is, I would say, is because of the why within MMP. It's all about coming from your core, and the core engagement that you have, and the rest of the engagement that you have, does not involve a restriction in the airway because it short circuits the effort at uniform engagement. So that's the reason why. Okay, so MMP breathing is out easy and in. Like a wave going up on a beach and receding, unencumbered. That doesn't mean the musculature that you use to engage yourself doesn't participate in the process. So, sound, constriction, short circuits, uniform engagement. Just a point of view. So I don't mean this hostily. Anything other than Joe's original work is derivative of that work. Okay? If you settle for derivative, you might miss the opportunity to reach for the ideal. Because the derivative gets in the way of what the intent is. So in my mind, trying to understand this, there's that Greek or Roman mythology about a race and stopping to pick up Aesop's fables, stopping to pick up golden apples to the point where you don't succeed in the race. And that's where, in the whole spectrum of Pilates being what it is, there's free reign in making of it whatever you wish. Other than the aware, there's something that you might miss. In the awareness that there's something more to Pilates than what you presume it to be. And that's human nature too. Put up a big, don't ruin my way of looking at it. So, in MMP, when you're actually doing Pilates, you're in the pursuit of the ideal. So that's what it is, meaning how do you breathe in MMP? It's really quietly and without any muscular engagement. That forces audibility, that you can hear it. Now see, this is a fascinating thing, a discussion I wish we could have, because when you look at tennis players, they make a lot of noise, but where does that noise come from? And maybe it's all in how they constrict their mouth and their lips and purse, but it seems much more animalistic to me and coming from the gut. And in that way, not being something that's encumbered or getting in the way of the ideal that you're in pursuit of. What is that ideal? Well, uniform engagement. Uniform eccentric loading flowing through progressive patterns of movement. So, in my notes, I wrote, the fact that it stands out means that it doesn't fit in. And maybe that just is saying nothing and nonsense, but the pullback on the push-through bar, the pullback with the push-through bar into extension, that has become this gnome on social media. Everybody's doing it. I think it's done for the dramatic quality of what you see. And yet contradicts what the reason it stands out is because it doesn't fit in. And why doesn't it fit in? There's a long list of that. And And so what do I want to say about that? I'd say that, I wouldn't teach it, and I wouldn't certainly demonstrate it or hold it up as an example of Pilates. You would do much better showing a good demonstration of shoulder bridge on the mat than doing that exercise. So, why is that? What am my number 2 title? Is engaging, applying, or absorbing leverage is of the many problems I have with that movement of the pullback with the push-through bar into extension. Some of it takes me into the rigidity of the push-through bar to an axis to the frame. So the rigidity of the contact you're making, and that the contact you're making creates a tension that to me is, it's a challenge to do it and not have it be compressive. And just because you can do it and not have it be compressive doesn't mean it's not by its own nature compressive. And so I'm trying to make point for you, if you see this go by, that you notice, okay, so what 2 pieces of classical equipment have leverage involved? That's a good question. The push-through bar in the Cadillac, what we're talking about, and what else? The chair, right? Because the chair has a pedal that swings on a hinge, so those are 2 hinged environments. And as Elizabeth says, the push-through bar is no friend of mine. For good reason, because there's leverage involved, and you can get hurt if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time when that bar moves, whether it's the low chair or the push-through bar. So it's leverage. My point here is in terms of engaging in leverage. When you're doing the push-through on the Cadillac, you engage in tension, because usually the bar is sprung from above. You engage in the tension, and then are able to go through the movement and when you relax, you come out of it. So there was a toss-up for me between applying tension and absorbing tension, because when you go up and you're in that solid bar of the push-through bar anchored to the frame, you're applying the leverage that's in that because you pull into extension. My thought on it. You may not see it this way at all, or your feeling may completely contradict. I'm just offering you my point of view of why I take exception to that exercise. And the thought, as I was explaining the push-through, where you engage the tension and the leverage, and when you relax or let go, coming out of it, or you lose control of it going into it, coming out of it is more at ease. Whereas if you extend your range or exceed your range of control, and you end up losing the structure that's holding you into it, or you let go, just let go, the whole weight of the body goes into extension. And I really haven't even mentioned anything about the head and the neck and all of that, but I would leave you with this. Where else in what you know of Pilates, whether it's original work or not, do you find that kind of engagement? So, in closing, everyone has a point of view. And I'm always hopefully just trying to clarify the MMP point of view, which is a point of view of Pilates, and we all have one. Because all we have is the simulation of what we think it means. And of course, the reality of our experience for feedback as to what we hold to be true. Everyone has a point of view. I would comment that don't let your point of view become so dogmatic, mine included, that you cease observing what's happening around you in the culture. And so, Clayton, when you know what you know, refinements, when you see something and wonder how is that just, is the sinuous movement that's very controlled and sometimes further distorted by bastardized breathing from the original. Everyone has a point of view. Let your understanding of MMP give you reason for why you don't hinder the airway, why you don't contrive the breath, other than to facilitate the comes down to preference and how you want to do something. And that, if I were the instructor, I would take you out of your comfort zone, or whatever you would call it, but I would not let you do percussive breathing, because I think it undermines what we're after. And I wouldn't do or teach that exercise, because it's something that's outside of the realm of my interest, and that the exercise doesn't fit into what I consider to be ideal Pilates for all kinds of reasons. I know you can do it. I know you like it. But being able to do it, and whatever you feel about it, doesn't change my concerns for it because of the physics involved in what's being done. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain. Evaluate points of view. See, the whole thing is sensational. The whole thing is sensational. And anyone that comes from an argument of I feel it this way and that's why I like it, okay. But if we're talking about surviving as a Pilates instructor, knowing how you would be that instructor, helps make definition between what you ask for and get paid when it comes to adding 2 and 2. Director thinking. Geist.